Welcome to the Spurs post-game reaction show with me, Shivam Patel, the host, coming to you live from San Antonio, Texas. And we have a victory edition of the Spurs post reaction show live as Spurs were able to snap their four-game losing streak and beat the Dallas Mavericks tonight, 119 to 117 in Dallas. What a huge win for the Spurs. And I'll give you my instant analysis and reaction and excitement as a Spurs fan that the Spurs finally get back into the winning column. And I want to hear from y'all, Spurs Nation. Tell me about your excitement about tonight's game, your thoughts. And it felt good to, finally get a win. So be sure to put your comments in the chat section below. And remember, you could watch the Spurs post-game reaction show with me every game on the Patel Pick and Roll Sports Facebook channel, also on the Patel Pick and Roll Sports YouTube channel, and be sure to subscribe. And you can also find it on the Shivam Patel Facebook channel. Lots of different options, but I am so excited. The Spurs were able to sneak out a victory tonight, and man, what a game! The Spurs were on a four-game losing streak, and they really struggled on this homestand, going 2 of 7. But then had tough losses against Denver, very close to second game, after getting blown out last week. But then it showed really the resilience of the Spurs. And I really like their mindset, coming into this game. DeMar DeRozan, said that, hey, we're not going to ask for Batman to come save the day for us. We're going to come figure things out. And that's what they did. They grinded it out. They fought. They were very gritty. They played like a team that's desperate for a win. And it really showed tonight against the Dallas Mavericks, who are a rival, in Texas. And I love the intensity that they came out with. They started really strong, which has been an Achilles heel for them, in this losing streak. And they continue to maintain, that edge, maintain that focus. They executed well, and they did everything that they needed to do, to get the win tonight against the Dallas Mavericks on the road, where the Spurs have been a lot better, than they've been at home. And DeMar DeRozan led the way with 33 points. He was just everywhere. He ended up making the go-ahead shot that got the Spurs the win with 0.5 seconds left. An ice mid-range shot. He got to his spot, nothing but net. And you could just tell that I'm very happy for him because he really did not sulk. He continued to believe in his teammates. He continued to keep his head up, continued to play hard. As a veteran, he could have easily been discouraged by the losing streak, but he didn't. He knew that, they can turn things around, and they finally did tonight, in a huge win against the Mavericks. And DeJounte Murray also pitched in 25 points. I just love his aggressiveness, getting to the basket, his mid-range shot. He was just getting to his spots. There has been some games where he's just jacked up threes, and that's not his game. I love that he uses his length, uses his athleticism to attack the basket, get fouls, and also he has a pretty nice crossover shot to get to the mid-range, and that's usually nothing but ice, either at the top of the key or the side of the key. So I love that DeJounte Murray also played well and chipped in, for the Spurs, and continued to be a great sidekick, to DeMar DeRozan. And also want to give a shout out to Lonnie Walker. Man, what a game he had. He's coming off of injury, but he had a huge stretch for the Spurs at the end of the third quarter into the early fourth quarter. He made that thunderous dunk, which is definitely in the candidate for the dunk of the year. He really just took off just underneath the free throw line and just posterized the Dallas Mavericks player. I don't remember which player it was, but man, he dunked that with ferocity. And you could just see with his eyes, he was looking at the player like, okay, you really want to challenge on the shot? I have the hops and I had the athleticism to be able to finish. And boy, what a ferocious finish. And I think that really got the Spurs going. You could see the bench getting up, that energy. And I think that really spread, along the team. And we have some comments, in the chat section below. I was just answering, what do you think of Lonnie Walker's dunk? It was a huge momentum lifter. It was the dunk of the year. And but it's not surprised. Lonnie Walker does something every game that just doesn't surprise you. He just uses his athleticism, uses his size to be able to get to his spots. And he's had some really nice finishes. But that has to be up there, in his young Spurs career. And he's definitely going to have a lot more posters as his career progresses. progresses. And we also had another comment that says, great win, feels good to beat the Mavs. Oh, for sure, because I think the Spurs came out, with desperation mode, like I said earlier, because the Mavs were leading the season series, 2-0, and the Mavs had a chance to sweep, the Spurs and win the season series. But the Spurs said, not on my watch. We're still the best team in Texas. You're still the little brothers. And the Spurs flexed their muscles on the Dallas Mavericks. And yes, good vibes for Spurs Nation and Spurs fans. It's been a tough stretch, but the fans have really tried to stick through with the Spurs, and it really showed in their unwavering support. And the team continues to play hard and continues to grind their way out to a nice victory tonight. So Lonnie Walker's stretch, he was getting to the basket. Of course, he had that nice dunk. He had a couple of nice mid-range shots, and he even made a couple threes. And that his stroke is pure. He's getting better and better with his three-point shot. And if he can continue to add that on a consistent basis, it's going to be hard to stop Lonnie Walker. Because what do? If you leave him open, he'll make the three. If you get up on him to prevent him from shooting the three, he'll just drive right by you with his athleticism and dunk you and put you on a poster. And he has the in-between game also. So Lonnie Walker slowly become a three-level scorer. And his addition in the second unit specifically was huge, because in this losing streak, the Spurs second unit has been badly outscored, and they were just missing one key ingredient, and that was Lonnie Walker. He really brought that edge and brought that energy to the second unit, because Rudy Gay's been struggling, Patty Mills has also been struggling, Drew Eubanks, he tries, but he's just not that great of a player, if I'm going to be honest with you. Devin Vassell didn't get any minutes tonight, which was surprising. So thank God for Lonnie Walker uplifting that second unit, for the Spurs. Also, I love their defense. Throughout the game, they were really being physical with Luka Doncic. DeJounte Murray got a couple of nice steals early in the game. They threw, Derek White at him, DeMar DeRozan, of course, DeJounte Murray. I love that they threw a lot of different bodies at Luka Doncic, make him see size, make him see athleticism and long arms. And I think that really affected his game. He had to work for every single shot, whether it's his step back three or driving to the basket. And I think that wore him out towards the end of the game. So major kudos to the Spurs defense for making it tough, on Luka Doncic. And him and Porzingis still, scored. Luka Doncic still scored 31 points. Porzingis still scored 29 points. But as Sean Elliott said on the broadcast, I thought Porzingis was, hanging around the 3-point line too much. And I think that went in the Spurs' favor, because the last game that the Mavericks won in Dallas, Porzingis was just eating at the rim. And, Drew Eubanks, Jakob Poeltl couldn't stop him, and LaMarcus Aldridge. So I think Porzingis not being by the basket, using his size and his 7'3", height, I think really allowed the Spurs to be in an advantageous situation, on the defensive end on the floor. And what key was, the Mavs' two superstars, yes, they got theirs, but they really kept the role players in check. The Tim Hardaway Jr.'s, the Dorian Finney-Smiths, the Jalen Brunsons, the Maxi Kleber didn't play tonight, the Nicolo Melli. They really did not allow those secondary role players to go off in addition to those superstars, because that makes the Mavs really dangerous to beat. So it's fine you let the stars, get their points, but they were not allowing the role players to get involved in the game as they usually are. And the Mavs were just chunking up too many three-pointers, and they missed more threes than they've made. So I think that really helps the Spurs, because the Mavs are just a team that'll chunk threes, they'll live and die by the three. And not that they chunked too many threes today, and the Spurs did a great job of contesting on the three-point shooters. And that was a big reason that the Spurs, had the advantage at the free throw line. The Spurs shot 27 free throws, Mavs shot 15. Because the Mavs were checking up threes, Spurs were getting to the free throw line. Spurs chunked up only 15 threes compared to 39 for the Mavs. So I think the Spurs put their head down and attacked the basket better. And I think the refs rewarded them with their aggressive play. And that's the reason that they were able to get to the free throw line and get points when the clock is stopped. So major congratulations for the Spurs for doing that, because I thought the Spurs against Denver in that mini series, they were shooting too many threes. But I think Pop, showed them the film. They made adjustments, and I think they did a great job of making it a concerted effort to attack the basket, and that really showed in tonight's game. Also, the Spurs did a great job of forcing the Dallas Mavericks to turn the ball over, specifically Luka Doncic, because the Mavs are a high volume turnover team. They're not very comfortable handling the ball. So the Spurs forced 15 turnovers for the Dallas Mavericks, which led to 15 fast break points for the Spurs. So the Spurs were able to get ahead of the Mavericks defense, not let them set, and get a lot of easy transition points that continued to gain their confidence. Not that the Mavericks were a great defensive team. The Spurs were completely shredding them with ball movement. Matt Bonner said before the game that he wanted to see more ball movement, more player movement. They were doing a great job of cutting, doing V cuts, cutting to the basket, faking like they're cutting to the basket and going to the 3-point line. All different kinds of cuts that really confused the Mavericks and really put their defense in a tough situation. So I love that active movement on the offensive end for the Spurs, and I think that allowed them to get a lot of easy baskets, at the rim and a lot of open 3-pointers. So great job for the Spurs of making that adjustment, watching the film, and knowing where you can attack the Mavericks' weak tendencies. And I think that really showed in tonight's game. So also, an audience comment is saying Jakob Poeltl played very solid defense and had some good shots. Oh, for sure, he had a nice and one. He had a nice dunk. He was getting some block shots. He had some nice blocks, getting rebounds. He did all the dirty work for the Spurs. So Jakob Poeltl was a huge reason why the Spurs were able to get, this victory tonight. And the Spurs also did a great job with the assist. They were making that extra pass, attacking the basket, forcing the Mavericks to collapse, kicking it out to the open shooter. I think that was really awesome for the Spurs to be able to get back to playing that Spurs basketball that was been so effective early in the season, and that got them at one point to the 5th seed. And now, but the Spurs need to get back to that and then continue to get wins and be in games, and also the Spurs were able to out rebound the Mavericks. That was a huge problem why they lost the first 2 games against the Mavs. The Mavs were getting too many second chance opportunities. They still got too many second chance opportunities for my liking. That's how they're able to tie the game. They got like 3 opportunities to score. But the Spurs, when they needed to, got the rebounds and won the rebounding battle 41-37. So I like that aspect for the Spurs to be able to hold down the offensive and defensive rebounds, because really they're only big. I know they play Eubanks, but their main big is Jakob Poeltl, because Gorgie Jane, the newest addition, he's still been injured. He still hasn't looked the same. He tried to play against the Nuggets, but he's still moving slowly and not able to get his stroke. So Jakob Poeltl is going to have to hold it down on the inside. And they're playing more, small ball in their second unit. They do play Eubanks sparing minutes, but when Rudy Gay comes in, he plays the 5, and I think he's big enough and a physical enough player to be able to play the 5. So I think they're able to, in a way, Rudy is their backup center, and I think that's working so far for the Spurs, and they need to continue that in order to be successful, on the rest of this road trip. So the Spurs are still fighting, for to make the play-in tournament right now. It looks like they're going to be in that situation. Of course, the top 6 teams in each conference are guaranteed, to make the playoffs. And then 7 through 10 plays in a play-in tournament. We saw a little bit of it last year in the bubble, but this year they're making a change to that. It's 7 through 10. So the way that it works is the 7th seed will play the 8th seed, the 9th seed will play the 10th seed, and the winner of the 7th and 8th seed is going to be in the playoffs, and is going to be the 7th seed in the playoffs. And then the winner of the 9th and 10th team is going to play the 8th team, and that's going to determine who's going to be the 8th seed in the playoffs. So the Spurs right now are sitting at 10th. Right now, I believe they're 1 game ahead of the Warriors, who have a big game tomorrow night against the Nuggets, and the Pelicans won also tonight. So those 2 teams are creeping up on the Spurs, and the Spurs just need to continue to win and continue to string wins together, especially late in the season. I know they have like the top 5 toughest schedule left, in the NBA, a lot of tough teams. You saw it against the Nuggets. They still have to play the Jazz twice, Suns twice, the Sixers. They have a lot of tough games coming up, but they've shown that early in the season that they can beat the good teams in this league. So they need to continue to have that edge, continue to have that energy, and continue to execute, play good defense, and play as a team in order to continue to get wins and be able to be in the play-in tournament, because I think that'll be a huge confidence booster, stepping stone for this young team to be able to taste something of a playoffs, because they fell short of the playoffs the first time in 23 years last year, and you don't want to miss the playoffs 2 years in a row. And I love that the Spurs aren't taking that. They're going full throttle into the playoffs, because that's going to really aid and develop the young guys to be able to get that playoff experience and get the necessary reps and valuable experience to be able to continue to prosper for the rest of their careers. So I think the Spurs need to continue to win. They got 2 big games left, on this 5-game road trip tomorrow night against the Orlando Magic, who got killed tonight against the Milwaukee Milwaukee Bucks, but the Magic are playing, they're not playing very well ever since that Aaron Gordon Vucevic trade. I know Mo Bamba had a couple of nice games, but the Magic are still a team at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. And then they play against the Toronto Raptors. Of course, the Toronto Raptors got moved to Tampa, so those are the last two games on this road trip before you have to play the Portland Trailblazers Friday back at the AT&T Center. So let's see what's going to happen. I will be back tomorrow night reacting to what I see in the Spurs and Magic game. Again, the game is going to be at 7 o'clock Central Time tomorrow, and I'll be back right after the game to give my instant analysis and reaction. So thank you so much, everybody, again, for tuning into this episode of the Spurs Postgame Reaction Show. Thank you for your comments, and continue to put your comments in the chat section below. And Spurs Nation, we got the win. The losing streak's over. Let's hope we can continue to build on this momentum going forward and make a push towards the playoffs and the play-in tournament. And again, you can watch every episode of the Spurs Postgame Reaction Show on the Patel Pick and Roll Sports YouTube channel, and be sure to subscribe to that. You can find a lot of also interesting content on there. We have the Patel and Kumar NBA Talk Show where you hear all things NBA, Courtside with Shivam in My League, where we talk about all things college basketball and international basketball, and of course the Spurs Postgame Reaction Show where I'll react to every single Spurs game, and this is a full Spurs podcast. And you can also watch the Spurs Postgame Reaction Show on the Patel Pick and Roll Sports Facebook channel, and be sure to follow that page, and the Shivam Patel Facebook channel. Be sure to also follow that page. So thank you again, everybody, for watching. Go Spurs, go, and we'll see you tomorrow night after the game against Orlando Magic. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your night.